Pinal's People episode of 2025. And with us today, we have some very special guests. They are Donovan Kramer, Zoe Cooper, and Brian Kramer of Casa Grande Valley Newspapers. And they're here today to speak with us about local journalism in Pinal County. Thank you guys for joining us.
Absolutely.
So, to start off with, for people who might not be familiar with who we are and what we do, can you share about Casa Grande Valley Newspapers and what it is we do on a regular basis?
We started out years ago as a newspaper. We in Casa Grande, we added newspapers around the area here in Eloy and Florence, other parts of Pinal County. Now we're doing a lot of digital media, online news. Things have changed a lot with the technology.
Yeah. And actually, I love that Donovan, I love the fact that you brought up the fact that we started out as local newspapers. Could you share a little bit about the history of the Casa Grande Dispatch, but then also just the history of, Kramer Media in general?
Our family's owned the paper for a long time, and people, through the years, people often ask me, did your family start the newspaper? But we didn't start the newspaper because every town going way back had a newspaper to the early 1900s or 1800s. This one was founded in 1912. It had a lot of owners. We bought it in 1962. It was a weekly newspaper. It became daily. Now we print 3 days a week, but we're doing online news constantly.
Mm-hmm.
That's the history. And by the 70s, we had bought some other papers in Eloy and Coolidge and Florence. Now they're all pretty much merged into one paper, except the Maricopa Monitor is a separate newspaper still.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And Brian, because obviously you and Zoe have both worked to kind of spearhead so much of our digital initiatives here. Can you speak to why nowadays, like, a digital first approach is so important?
Yeah, I think one of the things that's important with media companies is to, provide professional journalism where people are, right? And so a lot of the viewership and readership is online, and that's just part of our commitment to serving our communities is evolving, right? And innovating and providing our content in different formats and different media while still maintaining, that level of journalistic standard across whichever platform we're on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And so, could you offer some insight into, like, what are some of our digital strategies? Because obviously we have pinalcentral.com, and that's where everybody goes to get their local news on a day-to-day basis. But could you also speak about some of the other, assets in our portfolio that we use as part of our digital strategies and why they're important in what we do?
So do you want to take that one?
Sure. So we've had our website, pinalcentral.com, different iterations of it from Tri-Valley Central, and then in 2017 we switched over to Pinal Central to take a more countywide approach. We've used our social media platforms such as Facebook, Twitter, now X, Instagram, and getting more now into Nextdoor, and just really focusing on how can we reach the most amount of people, as we have people who subscribe to print editions that are longstanding people of our communities, as well as engage newer generations of people, as well as new people that come to the area.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. And so in your mind, when we talk about, because, obviously print in general, like, it doesn't matter if you're Casa Grande Valley Newspapers or if you're the New York Times, right? Like, things are changing in our industry. And you guys have been around for so long, you've had to navigate so many of these different changes. So as we've moved towards a more like online space, what has been either the biggest challenge or the most surprising thing you've encountered as we've made these changes?
I would say what it is people have so many opportunities for connections these days with the internet. A lot of those aren't related to news. We operate on various platforms. people get information different ways, but some of it's not really news, so we're trying to continue to provide that.
Mm-hmm. What would you say is like among the biggest, contenders, I guess, or issues that we have when it comes to like the different news sources, quote unquote news sources people have or get?
We offer a lot of free content, but basically the thing that's important is to preserve news. We need to have people willing to pay a little bit for local news.
Mm-hmm.
They pay for all kinds of other things, streaming and things. We do offer some free content, but to get everything, we have a subscription fee for that.
Yeah.
Very small one, but
I mean, and it's interesting too, because when we talk about like subscriptions, obviously people tend to think about like their streaming services, things like that. But subscriptions to local news, I mean, or even just like the newspaper, that's really nothing new if you think about it. Isn't that correct?
Yeah, I think it's a concept we've operated in our industry under for as long as we've been in existence, right? And so we've had what we call a metered paywall on our website for several years now, and so people who are visiting our site can read a certain amount of content. We have advertisers that help support our website as well, but ultimately it's our reader revenue and people paying for the access to journalism and all of the hard work that goes in behind the scenes for our reporters, attending government meetings and doing records requests and taking the time to actually write an objective story that our readers are helping support. So that concept isn't new, but it's something we're certainly working all the time to optimize and build and get more of our readership to be supporting our journalistic efforts through paid subscribers.
And I think too, people need to understand, or maybe they haven't realized yet, but the people that produce our content, who design advertisements, who sell advertisements, they're your neighbors. They're who you see at the grocery store. They're who go to community events. They live here and they work here, and so supporting those types of careers locally in the community is very important as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and I actually really love the fact that you guys have brought up like the idea of all the work and effort and time that goes into producing a product like the newspaper, and obviously too these are people, as Zoe said, who live locally, work locally in our area. So when you think about local journalism, because obviously we can talk about journalism on a national scale, but when you think about local journalism, what's something you wish more people understood about the value of it in our community?
I think some people are exposed to just little bits, rumors and little bits of things that they pick up here and there. There's more depth to it, and some people realize that they need to be really informed about issues like some of the big issues now in a lot of our communities are traffic, congestion, more apartments. These are issues that are decided by not only just the growth that's happening, but they have public bodies and things. We cover these things, and some people just really know little bits and pieces of it, not the whole story.
Yeah. Do you think too, like as we've grown, do you feel like it's about the same as and obviously Casa Grande has gone through growth spurts over decades, but do you think it's it's growing more challenging to sort of wrangle all these stories and put them under one banner, or do you think it's sort of it's just a matter of sort of evolving with the times?
I think that we have, with our platforms, we have plenty of opportunity to cover everything. The more time that people put into reading it, the better informed they'll be.
Mm-hmm.
Oftentimes people just make snap judgments about things without really knowing very much.
Yeah, absolutely. Could you speak to a little bit, because obviously you as the Kramers and have been in this community for, what is it now, going on like 60, 70 plus years, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. And, even Donovan, you and I were talking about this earlier. There is a legacy of, having had, family members that were involved in getting Casa Grande sort of on its feet. So do you want to share a little bit about that story too, and sort of why you think it's, important for you guys to sort of be community minded as well?
We see it as a mission to continue reporting the news here. Now with the evolution, we do other things. We print other newspapers for things that we don't own and other products. We do a lot of digital advertising for people, but we have a commitment to provide the local news, but some communities don't have that anymore.
Yeah.
And, just to expand upon that a little bit, our family's been in business here for 60 years, right? And I think it is unique to have a locally owned media company that is managed by a local family that lives in the community. And we're the oldest business in Casa Grande, right? Our grandparents and our grandfather really cared about our community, right? And this business is their legacy that we're now the stewards of, and kind of moreover, the stewards of journalism in our community. And so I think, that's really important to us, carrying on that legacy, and not just of operating a business, but informing the community and kind of telling the community story.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah, my dad's side of the family has lived in Casa Grande since 1889, and so just even, their center of town was near the railroad tracks, and my grandmother grew up in a house that was near St. Anthony's here in Casa Grande, and so just, I don't think anyone could have imagined what growth has occurred and what's for the future, and so continuing to be good stewards of our communities and give back where we can, and report locally and everything like that. It's very important to continue that on, just because there are less and less families who do this for a living, and knowing that people in these communities have have that where people care and want to give back.
Yeah. And so going off of that, back to my last question. So, Brian, you were bringing up the subject of legacy. And so when you reflect on the legacy of your family, and also, the work that you guys have put into it, when people reflect back on Casa Grande Valley newspapers, the Dispatch, and just you guys in general, many, many years from now, what do you hope they take away from your story?
What we found over the years is we're writing history. A number of years ago, when the paper was 100 years old, we printed a book. Brian did a lot of the work on that, with stories from every year of the paper's existence, and it's just interesting that history was preserved by somebody else. Now we've been doing it for a long time. We just want to keep doing that.
Yeah.
And I think too, just all of us are involved in different community organizations, and from Rotary clubs to chambers to different nonprofits. And so not only is preserving that history, but just that, we give back to the community, and we're invested in what we're doing in the community. We all live here. We've all chosen to work here through our lives, and it's, how we can continue to serve the community in different various ways.
Yeah, you two said it pretty well. I think our legacy is, part of fundamentally what our business does is builds a sense of community, right? And I think we all do that through, like Zoe said, things that we're involved in, and outside of operating the business. But I think that's really what we do, kind of at a fundamental level, is build community. And so that's what I like to think that we work for every day, and what people will remember our family for doing.
Awesome. Thank you, Brian, Donovan, and Zoe. Thank you guys so much.